look who showed up. Back in Chicago, I had a cool opportunity to see the Driver Era. My editor Gil is cousins with the guys who make up the band, and I couldn't pass up the opportunity. They're an alternative rock, which isn't usually my preferred genre, but the show was amazing. Afterwards, I go backstage to hang with the guys, which was a cool experience, and then of course I make friends with their tour photographer Hunter, who takes me on the bus. Done a lot of cool things in my life, but being on a tour bus has to be up there. Kind of makes me want to get a bunch of vloggers together and rent a bus to travel the US. After the show, we head over to play some poker. The venue today is the Arlington Racetrack, which funny enough is speculated to be demolished and be the new home for the Chicago Bears. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another video from Chicago. We're here at Rockford Charitables in Arlington Heights at the racetrack, and word on the street is Tom is coming. He's the blind theory optimal guy from the last video. Gotta catch some more punts. Let's get right into the hands. Let's go. Real quickly, you guys, I have another meetup, this time in Los Angeles. It's on October 1st, which is a Saturday. I'll be there from 1 to 7 p.m. playing a friendly 2-3 no-limit hold'em game. It's a $100 to $500 buy-in. Once again, at the Hustler Casino. So if you guys are in the Los Angeles area, this is your chance to make the meetup game. We hop into the 1-2 game for $400. First hand of the night, I look down at Queen 10 offsuit from the small blind. There's a few limps to me and I open it up to $20, to which the big blind, under the gun, and the cutoff all call. So yeah, this is a sign of things to come in the video. We're going 4 ways to a flop, which comes Jack 8-8 with 2 hearts. Being out of position to 3 other opponents and just having a gutter with no heart in my hand, I decide to start with a check. The big blind bets out for $20, and I actually decide to put in the call when the action folds around to me, which brings in the best card in the deck, the 9 of spades. Bang, we turn the straight. Obviously it's a dream situation, but in the moment I'm thinking, please have a good poker face and just check it over to the big blind. Let's see what he does. He luckily doesn't check behind, but with a paired board and 2 hearts out there, I think I need to be raising this up. Don't want to give a free card and then what? Check on the river and he checks behind. So I decided to go for the check raise to $110, to which the opponent waves the white flag, but either way, that 9 of spades came from space, and we're gonna take that card and also get rewarded with that $150 pot. Shout out to the sponsor of this video, DraftKings. As a poker player, I love a plus EV situation. Right now, new customers who download DraftKings Casino and sign up with promo code Wolfgang will get their deposit matched dollar for dollar in casino bonus funds. DraftKings Casino gives you access to over 800 casino games right from the palm of your hand. They have everything from blackjack to roulette to the live dealers, which I know I prefer. And with so many games to choose from, you'll never run out of fun. You heard that right. DraftKings is matching all new customer deposits dollar for dollar when you use code Wolfgang. And don't worry, if it isn't available in your state yet, you can play the daily fantasy app where you can win cash prizes all season long. And most importantly, DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. That means you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. Head to the DraftKings Casino app right now, make a deposit, and they'll match it dollar for dollar in casino bonus funds. That's code Wolfgang only at DraftKings Casino. Look who showed up.
Are you sure that he wanted to come or you just wanted to?
Yo, Tom, say what's up.
How's it going?
He's famous.
I was studying the blind solvers all day today.
He's famous.
I like it.
Next hand, we look down at King 10 of clubs, and I raise it up to $15 from the hijack. We only get called from 1 player out of position in the big blind. We're going heads up to an ace high flop. When the opponent checks it over to me, I think it's important to go for a 1/3 pot size bet on this board. He puts in the call, and that brings in the turn card, which is the king of diamonds, giving me a pair. When he checks to me for a second time, we're now betting for value, but I decided to go small to still target hands like 10 jack, maybe a spade flush draw, so I bet out for $15. When he gets out of the wave, we're 2 for 2 on the session, and we're up $70. Rolling right along, I look down at King Jack offsuit from the big blind. Our buddy Tom, he blind raises it up to $4. Now, he had the option to straddle. The dealer asked him if it was that, and he says no, it's just a blind raise. So yeah, you know, sometimes when you're at casinos and they don't let you straddle, you have that one funny guy who just does a blind raise. Well, Tom actually did have the option to do so, but no, he wants a blind raise. It's part of his blind theory optimal course. and I find myself in the big blind. The hijack decides to open it up to $8, the cutoff puts in the call, and now I'm in the big blind with king jack offsuit. Against a blind player, an open, and a call, this seems like a pretty fine spot to go for a squeeze. That's what I do, I raise it up to $40. Tom on my left doesn't look at his cards, instead he puts in $40. Yes, that's part of the course, that's in section 2.1. So first off, Tom puts in the blind $4. Not a straddle, it's a blind raise. Now he blind calls my 40. Legend, Chicago legend. The hijack puts in the call, and the cutoff now looks down at his cards and decides to raise it up to $140. Usually when players call and then re-raise, it's a pretty strong hand. I wish I had a little bit of a stronger hand like ace-king suited, ace-queen suited, and maybe I could just go with my hand for $375. Instead, with king-jack offsuit, I decide to muck my cards, and everybody else folds. The cutoff turns over pocket jacks, which really isn't a surprise when they go for the limp re-raise, but just sucks that we couldn't have seen a flop with our king jack offsuit. We now pick up pocket jacks for ourselves. I'm in the under the gun position, and I actually decide to limp. Now I normally wouldn't advise anyone limping, just come in for a standard raise of $15, but the player to my left is Tom, and he's raising absolutely everything under the sun. So I thought I could get a little tricky here, have Tom raise, a few people call, and then I'll spring the trap. Instead, of course, the one time Tom doesn't raise is when I decide to limp, and he puts in $2 like an absolute lemming. The action goes all the way around to the big blind, who decides to be a hero and raises it up to $30. Great news for us, the action is now open for business, and I decide to re-raise to $65, which is again strange. Normally you'd go for 90, 100, 110. Here's the thing, my raise is going to look strong to everybody else at the table, so I expect all of them else to fold. The big blind who raised it up to $30 only has $60 total, so that's why I decided to pick that sizing. What I didn't expect is Tom to blind call my $65 raise. The big blind goes all in for less, which is what I expected, and we're 3 ways to a flop, but heads up for a side pot with Tom. And the flop comes Jack 5-3, bang! We flop top set. A dream spot for us, we didn't really need too much help against a blind opponent, but now what do we do out of position? Against his blind range, I actually decide to check and hopefully let him catch up. I have this board completely locked up, I have the nuts on the flop. As long as we don't see like a deuce, a 7, or a heart on the turn card, we're gonna feel pretty good about my hand. Tom decides to check behind, and the turn card comes the queen of spades. I now need to get value from Tom, so I decided to bet out for $45. He finally checks his cards, it's the turn, he's allowed to do so, and he mucks. The big blind confidently turns over pocket kings. I show my set of jacks, and the river card comes an inconsequential 6 of clubs. That means we're getting rewarded with that $190 pot. We find ourselves in this next hand from middle position. I look down at ace queen offsuit and I raise it up to $20. Tom's on my left and he calls that $20 blind, and we're gonna see a flop heads up of ace 10-6 with 2 clubs. Out of position against a blind opponent, I think top pair is gonna be smashing his range, so I bet out for $15 and he puts in the call. On the turn comes the 9 of clubs. Not exactly the best card because 7-8 now makes a straight. Any 2 clubs have a flush, but still having top pair is a good hand, so I bet out for $40 into the $70 pot. He decides to jam all in for $265, which puts us in a tough spot. Against a normal tight opponent, I might just be able to get away from my hand, but he blind called me on the flop and he checked his cards on the turn and then jammed all in. He could be doing this with a weaker ace, I've seen him do that before. Also, maybe a hand like king 10 with a king of clubs could be doing this and putting maximum pressure on any of my hands. And given the fact that he gives action to the table, I decided to give some back and I put in the call. When the river comes the deuce of spades, he turns over ace 10 offsuit for 2 pair, and my top pair goes down in flames. Even though I had him dominated pre-flop, he sucks out on me on the flop. No worries though, he gets rewarded with that $600 pot. I rebuy for $300 more, and I look down at ace-jack offsuit from the big blind. I don't have any chips in front of me. I just have 300s to my right. The cutoff opens it up to $12, and the button puts in the call. Ace-jack offsuit is a strong hand. I'm stuck in the session, so I decide to raise it up to $55. Only the button puts in the call, and that leaves us heads up out of position to a king high board. When the cutoff opens it up to 12 pre-flop and the button just calls, he's going to have a lot of pocket pairs and random ace queen, ace 10, ace jack type hands. It's not too often he's just going to flat call the button with a hand like pocket kings or ace king offsuit or suited. So when the action's on me, I decide to lead out into him. Considering I have more of the pocket kings and ace king, I decide to bet for $30. He puts in the call, which doesn't worry us. He could still have his pocket pairs like eights through jacks, but I think a bet on the turn and the river might get the job done. When the turn card comes to 6 of heart, the action's on me once again. Now I size up to $90, which is around a half the size of the pot. The same logic still applies, where I don't really think he's going to have too many kings, and so a bet here should accomplish a lot by folding out all of his pocket pairs. Instead, when he puts in the $90, alarm bells are going off in my head. It's possible he has a hand like pocket 5s or pocket 7s, but when the 7 of hearts peels off on the river, it makes pocket 7s a little less likely. So now I'm putting him on a hand like pocket 5s or maybe some random assortment of kings. Either way though, I'm not going to give him the rest of my stack. I decide to check, and he checks behind, which is actually bad news because that probably means he has some showdown value and I would have got away with a bluff. Sure enough, when I turn over my ace high, he turns over pocket 8s. So yeah, I think a barrel on the river might have got the job done. Either way, he's taking down that $362 pot, which means I have to rebuy for another $200 in order to be at full stack. I'm in early position in this next hand. I look down at ace 7 of spades. I decide to limp and Tom makes it $20. With his 2 callers over to me, I debate going for a re-raise, but instead put in the additional $18 in order to go 4 ways to a flop and hopefully cooler someone in a flush over flush situation. When the flop comes jack 7-5 with 2 diamonds, although we have a pair, it's not really the board we are looking for. Hopefully we can back into the nut flush draw, and I start with a check. Tom to my left decides to bet out for $30, and there's 2 callers over to me. So with my pair and backdoor draw hopes, I decide to put in the $30, and we're going to see a turn card which gives us 2 pair. It comes the ace of diamonds. Now I could be checking, but I don't want it to get checked around. Instead, I decide to lead out into the field for $65. My logic is if I get raised, it's pretty obvious I'm behind either a flush or a set, but I could still get called by worse hands like jack 7, jack 5, maybe a hand like king jack with a king of diamonds. So I kind of like my $65 bet until the hijack decides to re-raise it to $150. Like I said a few moments ago, my bet accomplishes a lot because if I get raised, it's pretty easy to get away from it. Additionally, the hijack has played about 1 hand all night, so his re-raise just streams extra strength, and I make a pretty disciplined and easy fold in my opinion. And I mentioned to the table 2 pair is no good. Fortunately for us, the hijack ends up turning over ace jack offsuit for a better 2 pair. So yeah, if you thought I made a tight fold there and were about to ridicule me in the comments, go suck it. He turned over a better 2 pair, so I actually made a decent fold. In the end though, I'm a little bit short stacked, so I top up for $100 more. And next hand we look down at the Cowboys from the cutoff. Definitely the cards we wanted to see. There's a few limps to me and I open it up to $20. We're gonna get 3 callers, so a chance to win some of our money back. We see a flop and it's pretty good for us. It comes queen high. With $80 in the middle, I decide to lead out into the field for $50. The button folds and the small blind goes all in for $155. The fastest of snap calls coming from me. I put in the call and he turns over ace queen. When he decided to run it one time, the turn card has no mercy for us. It comes the ace of hearts. Where did that come from? Absolute disaster. The deuce of spades on the river seals our fate. The opponent gets rewarded with that $400 pot with that ace on the turn. We just can't catch a break. You ever play one of those sessions where just nothing can go right? Like all the action's perfect, you're getting hands, but they're just getting better hands, or they're bluffing you, or they're just absolutely crushing you. Yeah, that's what's going on here. We're down 700 at the moment, but they're still playing blind. If there's ever a time for us to win our money back, it's now. We're only playing 1-2, but it's basically like a 2-5 anyways. Let's get back into the action. Wish me luck. Let's go. After that king's hand, we rebuy for $200 more, and we find ourselves in the next hand with ace queen offsuit from the low jack. I open it up to $20, and Tom to my left, he's back to his old ways, and he decides to call blind for $20, and the player to my right calls as well. That means we're going 3 ways to a flop, out of position to Tom, which comes ace 9 deuce. Pretty great board for us, but if you watch my vlogs, you know when I'm in between 2 opponents, I usually start with a check. That's what I decide to do in the moment, and Tom decides to take up the betting lead and bet out for $12 blind. I don't know why middle position's folding. Tom just bet blind. Either way though, the action's back onto me, and I think this is a perfect spot to go for the check raise and just pile the money in now. Calling just allows him to catch up or improve, but I actually decide just to put in the call, so I'm not really too sure what I'm thinking in the moment, but in hindsight, this needs to be a check raise or just lead out into Tom. Either way, the turn card comes to 8 of spades, and I decide to check it over to him, and this is a reason why I like the check raise on the flop. By just calling his $12 bet and checking to him on the turn, it allows him to check behind and bring in a free card, the King of Diamonds on the river. Now we have a decision between keeping up the trap or betting out when this King of Diamonds comes. I think a check is actually the best move here because it allows a lot of his missed draws to now bet. If I bet out, he's only going to call me with a worse ace or maybe like a worse king. But if I check here, hands like Jack 10 or any 2 spades might actually go for a bet. That's what I decided to do. I check it over to him. Unfortunately, in this spot, he checks behind. That means I'm going to be good around 100% of the time here. I turn over my top pair, and he mucks, and finally, we take down a pot. 84 bucks coming my way. 2 more hands to go. I look down at pocket 5s now from the cutoff. The low jack goes by the name of Alex. That's a great name. And he raises it up to $12. I put in the 3-bet. I'm not going to get any of my money back by just flat calling. I make it $40. When Alex puts in the call, we see a flop which comes queen high, queen 6-4 with 2 hearts. When he checks it over to me, I'm going to be mixing between betting 1/3 and checking behind. In this moment, I decide to check behind, bringing in the 7 of hearts, giving us an open-ended straight draw. When he checks to me for a second time, I'm going to be betting. I'm actually trying to get hands like ace king, ace jack, ace 10, or maybe better hands like ace6 or ace7 to fold. I bet out for $65. If I get called, I'm probably behind, but any 3 or 8 on the river would definitely be good news. Good news for us though, we're not going to find ourselves in a tough spot. He mucks his cards, and just like that, 2 hands in a row, we're taking down a pot, leading us to the last hand of the night. I look down at the ducks, quack quack from the hijack. Few limps to me, and I open it up to $20. Tom's to my left. He's been having a brutal rest of the session. He only has 78 bucks left in his stack and decides now's the time to rip it all in for 78 bucks. Alex, who was the under the gun limper, puts in the call for 78 bucks, and yeah, I'm stuck a lot of money. I'm a little bit tilted, and I decide to join in on the fun. If I spike a deuce, it could be a large pot. I put in the additional $58. When the flop comes Jack 10 9 rainbow, not a great board for us. Alex checks it to me. I check behind. When the turn comes a 7 of spades, it gets checked through, followed by the river 10 of spades. Alex checks it over to me. I don't really think I'm going to get better hands to fold. I check behind, and he turns over ace 9 of clubs. My deuces are no good against him. Funny enough though, Tom turns over ace 9 of hearts, and the dealer actually makes a little mishap.
Plays. Wow, winner.
Well, I have an ace too, so we chop.
Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't see your.
Did you hit that Russian cocaine brothel?
I totally missed your ace 9. I really did.
He thought he scooped it. That being said though, I don't even need a rack, but I decide to rack up my chips and head over to the cage. Get out of that game for $192. So yeah, a pretty big loss on this session. If you guys are interested in playing in the Meetup game, be sure to go on Poker Atlas and get your name on the list. All right, you guys, that wraps up that brutal 1-2 session. They got the best of me this time. You can't win them all. We definitely did not do very good today at all. We lost $1,008, which is probably my biggest loss ever in Chicago at Rockford Charitables. I don't usually lose like that big in a 1-2 game, but things didn't go our way. Our kings got cracked. We were making some bad plays at the end, but just playing fun. Shout out to Jake, shout out to Tom, shout out to Alex, shout out to everyone that was at the table. Really fun playing with all of you guys. Love being back home in Chicago. I'm here for another month or 2. We'll see. If you guys enjoy this content, be sure to hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment down below. Subscribe if you're new. Good luck on the felt as always. I hope you guys run better than I did tonight. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace. Thanks for watching to the end of my video. Click my head below to subscribe and stay in the loop. See you next time.